Hello, everyone. Future Tucker here doing a quick check-in. I've already recorded the episode today, but if you're only here to see the discussion between the difference of fluorocarbon and monofilament, skip to about the 62 and a half minute mark. I'll put a timestamp into the description below, but if you're looking for just the discussion, about 62 and a half minutes, an hour and 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the video there. Thank you all. Hello, everyone. My name is Tucker, and welcome back to our Russian fishing for float fishing journey. So, kind of like at the end of the last episode, today what I want to do is I want to do a comparison of the monofilament line float fishing line, rod along with the fluorocarbon rod. So, what I've got is on rod 1, we have the monofilament line. I need to switch the float because we've got 3 of these. So we got the Express Fishing Bava Original, size 12 Happy Hook, and Pearl Barley. And on number 2, we've got the Fluorocarbon line, same float, same Happy Hook, same bait. So let's do a comparison. We'll set them both at 1 meter deep and see how things go. And I'm going to do my best to try and keep the floats in a similar spot as well too. It's never going to be perfect, but as long as they're close, I think it'll give us an idea of if fluorocarbon and monofilament are any different. So with pearl barley, mainly looking at roaches, but we'll get gibbles and crucians as well here. And right off the bat, a decent fish here on the fluorocarbon line. 1.77 kilo gibble carp. Nice fish. Getting nibbles on both rods right now. Decent crucian. Missed a fish over here on 1 because the game wouldn't let me switch rods. Kept telling me rod 1 was already in my hands, which it wasn't. Another decent gibble. It's interesting that so far the fluorocarbon rod, or the rod with fluorocarbon line on it, has been a lot more active. That 568 gram gibble there was the first one we've caught on monofilament. Come on, game. Missed another one over here on rod 2 because it was already in use. Looks like we still got it though. Smaller gibble, but still a marker. Looks like switching by just pressing the number is causing that already in use message. If I set the rod down, I can switch. Yeah, I don't know. I was noticing that when I pressed, so to switch rods right now, I'm pressing 1 and 2 on my keyboard. I was noticing when I did that with a fish on, it looked like I was always getting that already in use message. But if I pressed 0 or I've got it mapped to the forward button on my mouse, it would switch correctly. Another marker gibble. And for full transparency, I did not look at the cafe orders or anything like that here. So if we're hitting cafe orders, that's a good thing. Decent little roach there. Up to 31.5 on float fishing. So my goal today is just to do a full day of this. I'll review the footage afterwards, kind of put together a list of fish that were caught on each rod and how things worked out, and put together kind of some commentary there at the end. But we did start at right about midnight. I think we got down to the lake at 10 after midnight. So mixed fishing for a day, pretty easy to know. And as always, we want to keep grinding up on bait harvesting as well too, so that we can get new baits. So I got to remember to be digging for worms at every opportunity. Yep, missed that one. So far, I've noticed that I've missed 2 fish that look like bites on the monofilament line. And I haven't missed any on the fluorocarbon. There's some good names in chat right now. Small roach. It's a bit weird for me. I'm used to having 2 different color floats, so keeping the brain. I'm working really hard to make sure I keep the right rod float on the right and the left rod's float on the left. Hopefully today I'm going to be able to get episodes recorded, not at the last minute. It's actually before noon right now, my time. Nice little crucian. Nice common roach. There was a fish on there. The float was pushed up and I didn't realize it. Another marker. I went with size 12 hooks mainly because it's a good middle of the road sized hook that should keep the bite rate up rather than going with a little bit bigger, especially with pearl barley. I still want to be making silver and also trying to level up both our level and float fishing as we go here. So catching fish is still a priority, but doing the test here is definitely an interesting thing for me to see what happens out of it. That's a decent fish. Looked bigger than it turned out to be. Yep. Tried to drag it away and drag it too far away. There we go. I just missed a fish over on 2. Was focusing on rod 1. Didn't see it until it was too late. First miss on 2. Now that the sun's coming up, the roach are becoming more active here, which is honestly what I expected to be catching on pearl barley in this location. But they did say they redid bait preferences here at Mosquito, so wasn't sure this is a good fish. Probably another kilo. Yep, 1.3 kilo gibble carp. So far, the fluorocarbon line has caught both of our big fish. Small bream. There was a fish on there, but I just didn't switch over to it in time. So I did not throw out my bottom rod, my feeder rod, because I didn't want to get confused by that. I wanted to focus on the experiment here of is monofilament or fluorocarbon better for float fishing. Now, granted, I don't think we're going after super cautious fish here, so that may not change much. I just was looking at chat because there's a hot fix coming where they're going to be resetting the server and wanted to see when that was. Um, we're not really going after cautious fish here, so we may not see a difference as much. I may try something else going after like gudgeon or bleak or something like that. Days. May go over to winding and do a similar experiment there. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. 351 gram roach there. So 20 fish in about 6 hours. Not too bad for a bite rate. About three to four fish an hour. First pretty decent fish on the monofilament line. Just over a kilo. Somewhat small, but decent. It turned out to be bigger than I thought. A lot bigger than I thought. I was thinking it was about 800 grams. Didn't think it would be over a kilo. This is probably a perch or a common. No, it was a big gibble. When I saw it take off like that, that's what made me think perch. $23 fish in 7 hours. Nibbles on both rods. Trying to make sure I've got room between the rods to set them down if I need to switch quickly. This is a good fish. Not quite as good as I thought it was going to be, but it was still a decent fish. I messed that one up. Got faked out. I saw it swimming there, so I thought there was a fish on there, but there wasn't. Either that or I just missed more of them on mono. I don't know if that's really the case, but it's what it's felt like so far. 8 hours into the day, 26 fish caught. Reasonable fish here. I knew I didn't get this rod out to the spot I wanted to, but there was a fish on the other rod. (24.3% on bait harvesting. And just to say it, no ground bait or anything like no ground bait or anything like that here, for me at least. This is just pure float fishing with pearl barley. Just had to look up in the corner to make sure I had enough pearl barley to do a full day on pearl barley. And if we catch more than 270 fish in one day, I'll be happy, but there's no way we'll do that. I mean, we're over a third of the day in and already have just right about 30 fish, so probably get 60 to 70. That was the smallest fish so far. Reasonable. Anything over a half kilogram or 500 grams, I'm happy with. That might be right at a kilo. Or it might be 500 grams. Looked a lot bigger. Oh, come over this way a little bit, Flip. Honestly, I should probably do the same thing here and switch for another day and put monofilament as line rod 2 and fluorocarbon as rod 1. But I don't think, with how close we are, I don't think that's really going to matter. This is a good fish. Ooh, 1.6 kilo bream. Almost really outside of bream hours, too. That was unexpected. I mean, pearl barley is a bream bait. I just didn't expect to catch a bream here. Ooh. There was a fish on there, but missed it. Noticing I'm slowly moving over to the right, but the boat's also turned to where I was fishing earlier. I may have to go between the boat and the dock. This is where having the float camera on is helpful because I can look at the float camera and the other float easier than having to look across the screen. You can turn the float camera off, and when I say the float camera, I mean the thing in the bottom center of the screen. Ooh, this one's decent. That was not what I wanted to do. Luckily, the fish is still on. Didn't get one out as far as I wanted to, but saw the fish over here on two. So let's go ahead and recast one. About 11 hours in, 37 fish, so 3 to 4 fish an hour. I expect it'll slow down a little bit as we get to the afternoon hours. I may try and knock the boat a little bit further away from where it is to use a fish to push it. Small gibble. Got a nibble over on one as I was digging there. Tried to look at where we started as far as level. I know we started at 12, but how far into 12 we were to get an idea of the experience this test has given us. Small roach on one. That's fish number 40 today. That's the first time I've ever seen that. Told me I failed digging. That's a good fish underneath the boat. Looked a lot better with how quickly it took off, but it was just a little baby. That might have actually been the smallest fish so far. Yep. I missed it. More worms, 24.6. Would love to get bait harvesting up to 25% before the end of the day. Definitely have slowed down bite rate as we've gotten to the afternoon and gotten a lot warmer. Got about 4 fish in the, still 3 to 4 fish an hour. Feels like it's slowed down. Third of a kilo. Don't want to be that far out. This is going to be difficult to see if we actually have a bite with it stuck up on the boat like that. Hit the Q, which is the chat key. This is either a really good fish or it's getting caught under the boat. I'm not entirely sure which. I think it was a combo of both. It was getting caught under the boat. 600-gram gibble shouldn't have pulled that hard. So when I was pulling the fish up there, it was actually making contact with the boat. And the boat was holding it in the water. "13 hours in, 44 fish. Still 3 to 4 fish an hour. Pretty good bite rate. Especially for only having 2 rods out. Another miss on mono. The float popped up as much as it was. That was a surprise. Again. Float moving around. Float popped up. No fish on. Same thing over on fluorocarbon and pull a fish in. A good fish, too. Just short of a kilo. Smallish crucian here. Decent fish. Just with how hard it was to pull it out of the water. No skill up there. Another miss on mono. Come on, fish, get in the net. Half a kilo roach there. $15 in, 48 fish. So closer to 3 fish per hour. My guess is we'll end up with about 60 fish. Although with it being 21 degrees, that may go down. Reasonable roach there. Just short of a marker. I did not put big enough hooks on here to really be expecting a trophy or anything like that. I wanted more quantity of fish over quality of fish here. Something that might be interesting, though, is to try it with bigger hooks. I just went with what I already had 2 hooks of because we only had 11 silver in the bank. So I didn't have enough money to buy another hook. Just short of a marker there. While nothing's nibbling, let's get a dig in. Unfortunately, no level up. Might have just heard my work laptop go off with an email. Unfortunately, I got to pay attention to that and this at the same time. Random sleeper. Small one. Sometimes it's good to be working from home and able to do this during lunch breaks and things like that. Both rods getting a bit of a nibble. Again. Small gibble. It really does feel like the monofilament line fish don't attach to it as well as they do the fluorocarbon line. It feels like I've just missed a lot more fish over on the mono line. 17 hours of fishing, 52 fish, so just over 3 fish an hour. That's a good sleeper. Yeah. Looked a little bit bigger than it turned out to be, but still a decent fish. Probably more if I didn't expect to catch a sleeper, and so the brain thought it was bigger than it really was. Good gibble here. Probably 600 to 700. And just shy. Got my floats on the wrong side of each other there for a second. Another reasonable roach. Chat scrolled up as I looked over. I thought someone had just caught a 450-gram sleeper, but it was a sleeper followed by a crucian carp, and the crucian carp was a 450-grammer. So I was gonna say that's a huge sleeper. Decent roach there. Got some float fishing percentage points. So when we finish up the day, I'll probably take some screenshots of the fish we caught so I can get an idea of the silver per fish per rod, that type of thing. And then I will kind of review through the footage afterwards, match the fish that we caught up to the rod we caught it with, and see which one turned out better. And then record another clip afterwards here that kind of talks into some of that. So definitely going to be interesting to me. Just playing here, no data in front of me, it has felt like the fluorocarbon line has caught better quality fish, and I'm going to say a little bit more fish, but not substantially. To me, it feels like about 60% of the fish have been on the fluorocarbon rod, and about 40% of the fish have been on the monofilament rod. I does feel like I missed more fish on the monofilament rod, which would probably kind of even things out if I had caught all of those. But that's just what it feels like. I've got no data in front of me to confirm or missed a fish. Got no data in front of me to confirm or deny that feeling. And it'll be interesting to me to see the actual data and see if what I feel is the case really is the case or not. 19 hours, 58 fish, so still right at 3 fish an hour. And if we had another rod in, we probably would be 4 to 5 fish an hour. But didn't want to have to deal with missing fish on float because I had a bottom rod in, or missing fish on the rods we're trying to test with because I was trying to catch a fish on a different float rod. Saw the float had popped up there, which told me there was a fish on there. Turned out to be bream, which they're known for doing that. So good to see that's still their typical behavior. Decent crucian here. Maximum total weight of fish caught in a day achievement. Not entirely surprising there. Although, with how many days we have been fishing, how many days have we been fishing here? 16 days that I've been in game. Probably only fishing 14, 15 of those. I mean, today is episode 12, and we tend to do a day per episode. At least I think it's episode 12. I didn't look. And I know at least once I posted the same episode number and had to adjust it later. Small bream. Another dig dig. No skill points again. Probably a gibble nibbling here. Got it caught under the boat there for a second. That's where it is nice to be able to move. So I went to the side here because that's where I could. Obviously, in real life, that would be interesting with your line would probably have gotten caught on the nose of the boat. $63 fish in 21 hours, so right at 3 fish an hour. Reasonable roach there. Wasn't sure if Rod 2 was caught under the dock or not. I hadn't seen it do anything in a little bit. This is a good fish. Nope. Didn't get enough out of the water. 1.7. Nice. All right, which side of the boat do you want to come out on, fish? Let's just pull you this way. Let's just drag you over the boat. No, that was not what I really wanted to do. There we go. "22 hours, 66 fish." "439-gram crucian." Just under a kilo there. But a good fish nonetheless. Didn't really mean to cast it that far out. But I also see a bite over here that I don't want to miss. This is a good fish. Not as good as I thought it was. 23 hours in, 69 fish. Nice, right at 3 hours. Or 3 fish per hour. And missed another one on mono. So we'll wrap things up here right about midnight. Go over to the fish market, see how much we caught. Looks like we're halfway to level 13. Should probably dig. No skill points there, unfortunately. Or skill percentage, I guess. Skill points are what you get every level to be able to put into a skill. Another reasonable gibble. Well, unless we get anything last minute here, looks like it's going to be 70 fish in 24 hours. We're getting a bite over here on 2, so it might be 71. That's a decent crucian to probably close things out. 1 kilo crucian. Let's put that right away. We did start a little bit after midnight here, so I'll give this rod just a second to get another bite. But if I don't see any action on it here in a second, we'll go ahead and pull it in as well. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on it. So 24 hours, 71 fish. Again, to me, it felt like better fish and more fish on the fluorocarbon side. But 95 silver with nothing going to the cafe. If we do sell some fish to the cafe, and I don't want to do this right away, I kind of want to get some screenshots. Looks like we didn't get any cafe orders. Yeah, we didn't get any cafe orders, but so 95 silver in 1 day with no cafe orders. That's pretty decent, honestly. So I'm going to grab some screenshots here of this view so that I can figure out which fish were the best, which rod was the best. It looks like, just scrolling through, a good percentage of markers versus non-markers. But my guess is we probably made the most on gibbles. So 44, 45 silver on gibbles, 22 on crucian, 17 on roaches. but uh, and then that random 1.6 kilo bream was worth 5. So interesting stuff here. Again, I'll kind of compilate these into a spreadsheet and do some comparisons here this afternoon before I post this video, and come back here in a little bit with some analysis of how things went. But I do appreciate everybody watching through the video here. I may split up the analysis to a separate video as well too. If you're interested in just the analysis, we'll see. If I do that, future Tucker will come in at the start of the video and say that. So appreciate everyone watching, and we'll be back with results in a little bit. And we'll now go ahead and move into the discussion on the fish that we caught today. So for those that may have skipped ahead here, we had 2 float rods set up. They were the exact same walrus sticks. The first one had monofilament line with 7 kilogram capacity on it. Everything else is the same. The second rod had a fluorocarbon line with 6.9 kilogram capacity. That was about as close as I could get to having exactly the same line size on the 2 different rods. So just kind of heads up there. It's not 100% perfect, but it's as close as we could get. Everything else is the same though. The same hook size, the same bait, the same float, the same rod. And moving on to just discussing the fish and the rods and how the outcomes were. So I went back through the footage. Actually have a spreadsheet I can scroll up here that show that I kind of cut through the time we caught the fish, what rod it was on, the fish species, the weight, the silver, and whether it was a marker or not. So went through all of that. As far as the fish we got 4 bream, average of 1.28 silver. There was one really big marker in there, and that's really why that was as high as it was. Otherwise, that was actually pretty low. Crucians were 1.14 silver, 17 markers out of 24 fish. Gibbles 1.8 silver per fish average. Average weight of 700 grams, 19 markers out of 25 fish. Roaches were just over a silver apiece, average of 317 grams per fish. We caught 12 markers and 16 total fish. And then for Chinese sleepers, average of just over half a silver each, for an average weight of 105 grams and 1 marker out of the 2 fish that we caught. So overall, a 70% marker rate, which I'm pretty happy about, and it does actually show. So moving into the meat and potatoes, as far as the fluorocarbon rod versus the monofilament rod goes, overall, what's interesting to me is we caught more fish on mono than we did on fluorocarbon, and I also missed a significantly more number of monofilament fish than I did on fluorocarbon. So 37 fish on monofilament, 34 on fluorocarbon, but we got more markers. Average silver was higher, average weight was higher on fluorocarbon, but because we caught those 3 fish, overall, and this was amazing that it turned out this way, we ended up 0.01 silver difference between the 2 line types. So kind of surprised me there that it was as close as it was, especially with the overall average. I think if we caught a couple more fish, that might have changed, but really not a whole lot of difference going after carp and roaches. Kind of what I expected to see. I'm thinking about doing another check-in on that, but I did kind of look into it a little bit further, broke it down by rod or really line type and fish here. So if you are interested, I'll leave this up for a little bit to view. But overall, we got more silver out of gibbles on fluorocarbon, and really roach, that's about it that we really got higher silver just from fluorocarbon out of. Everything else we actually got a higher silver from monofilament, but we did have one significantly bigger gibble, and that was really the difference there as far as average silver goes. So definitely an interesting experiment. I think it's something I want to try a little bit more, maybe going after some more cautious fish, whether we look at gudgeons or sleepers or things like that. But looking at the totals overall, the monofilament line for the price really isn't bad if you're going after crucians and roaches and those type of fish. So what is interesting is we only got sleepers on the monofilament line. Now we only got 2 of them, but that was a bit of a surprise. We did get the big bream on monofilament line as well too. So something I think we need to look at a little bit more as we go. But again, overall, almost exactly the same silver. More fish actually on monofilament. And if I remember correctly, I think we actually even dropped more fish. So I'm looking at some notes I have here. I missed 9 fish on the monofilament rod, and I only missed 4 fish on the fluorocarbon rod. So definitely interesting that we ended up catching more fish. And if we brought in all 9 that I missed on monofilament, that value probably would have been even higher. So something to play around with more, something to keep an eye on. And I may do another experiment looking more at sleepers or gudgeon or bream, white bream over at Oldberg might be interesting to see here too. But at least for crucians, gibbles, and roaches, I don't really see a significant difference other than we got a lot more markers on fluorocarbon. I think next steps also would be to try with bigger hooks. So try with size 4 hooks or size 6 hooks and see what happens there. So feel free to comment below any questions, comments, thoughts on this. And I appreciate you all watching. I'll see what I can do for the next episode and we'll go from there. Have a good one.